One of the biggest challenges we find with our clients is helping to adapt them from a performance-based strategy to a real audience-based strategy. A lot of people sort of think that they can be the same thing, but it's actually quite different. Most of the time, the audience that performs the best on a site is not reflective of who your actual high-value audience is that you want to reach. Most of the time, those audiences can actually be really difficult to actually drive performance in and change mindset, etc. And there's sort of no better place to look at than the auto industry. The auto industry has an enormous amount of sort of aspirational audiences along the way. I would love a Tesla, and I'm nowhere close to getting that anytime soon. And this played out with early on with one of our clients, where we noticed that year over year we were seeing rapid declines in cost per actions on the site. So people were coming to the site, they were building out different types of cars and configurations, but sales ultimately remained flat. Business was sort of normal as usual. So there's some questions about what digital advertising was actually doing for them. So we did a bunch of research and we started to dig into the data that we had of audiences who were visiting. And what we noticed is that overwhelmingly this was a male, millennial, college-age population, largely in urban cities. So not the type of person who's ultimately going to go out and buy a $50,000 to $75,000 car. It's something that they're planning for in the future. So while we were ultimately able to see incredible efficiencies in performance from an online perspective, that doesn't always translate to a real-world perspective. So that was a really difficult conversation to have, obviously, and it's a difficult conversation that we have with a lot of our clients. But the good news is that we're pretty effective in actually being able to move from this kind of bottom-up performance optimization to a much more top-down audience planning perspective. So from there, it's making sure that we're identifying that we're in target on the correct audiences, and then being able to optimize effectively within those individual audiences within there. The most important element of this as well, though, is also recognizing that sales cycles are long and digital media is generally treated in a very short-term manner. So looking at what digital media's impact is, particularly on consideration, and then tying that to things like footfall traffic within dealerships or within stores for other types of clients, is an increasingly important step that we have to take to make sure that we can optimize in real time effectively. There's a lot of things that a brand and agency need to look at programmatic partners to figure out whether or not they're actually equipped to service their business needs. For me, the first is fit. And that seems really simple, but it's an important one as well. If you are really focused on driving tremendous efficiencies, from a digital perspective, that's going to be very different than someone who's concerned primarily around high media quality to deliver in-store sales and brand lift. So making sure that the functionality of a partner is aligned with what your business goals are is very important. The second is flexibility. I think that today there is this idea that there's a one-size-fits-all type of technology stack that makes sense for every single advertiser, and that's just not true. Every single advertiser and every single brand has different needs and different requirements, and the ability to integrate and to plug into the broader ecosystem where it makes sense is of the utmost importance. While the walled gardens ultimately are seeing their walls raise higher at Facebook and Google, at the same time the need for interoperability has never been more important. And the last and probably the most important, I would say, is longevity and stability. Making sure that the programmatic partner that you're working for has a vision for the future that is clearly articulated, that is transparent, and that is really committed to driving value for a brand. It has to be the most important thing ever. There are over 2,300 partners in the programmatic space right now, as counted by Lumen partners. We expect that to shrink, easily, 100-fold over the next few years. There's a lot of companies who are looking to exit, that are looking to shut down, that are just looking for a quick return. And the important thing for us is making sure that the partners that you work with are in it for the long haul with you. The biggest piece of advice I can give for advertisers today is to disrupt yourselves first. Before your business in general is disrupted. We have a better understanding than ever about what is driving value and what is important to a marketer. Now, this can be really scary because the incongruence with what we've traditionally valued is oftentimes very steep. But the marketers who are able to embrace that quickly, to measure the most effectively, and ultimately adapt accordingly in the next few years are going to be the ones that succeed. So failing fast is actually a virtue in this market, especially given their ability to pivot out of that very, very quickly. And it's those who embrace those audiences and who are able to build these closed loop ecosystems for the future that are going to see the most success down the road.